have, I'll begin by the first presentation. Zainab, still here?
Yes. Hello.
Okay, I'm kind of interested in your introduction of gaming in the first year design studio. Okay, it was the first year, right?
Yes. Sorry for the background noise.
No problem. You'll have it.
I'm listening.
Introducing the concept of gaming first year studio. They labeled the first year studio as the architecture kindergarten. So the concept of play is crucial in the introduction of students in the realm of architecture, and I really appreciate and understand and pleased to meet some other colleagues to share the same belief. But as optimistic I was, I cannot not see that there's minimal presentation of the design outcomes. The methodology was demystified as a process, yet there are only 3 projects that provide evidences for the efficiency of it. What are the reasons for that? You applied the methodology according to your paper for 30 students?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because of the time limit, and this was just 1 hour exercise, so it was difficult for us to organize all the outcomes.
So you're planning to do it literally? You're going to do it again, and or is it just a one-time method to examine?
Yeah, it was for us. It was a kind of ongoing process. So the method and the our results observations was important for us, but we are thinking that we need to update this like concept of aid. So we need to change this game, our proposal, to have better results.
Okay. So if there's no other questions, I would like to ask you another question that I might know the answer. So you're familiar with the shape grammar methodology?
Yes. Yes.
You have Professor Birgül Çolakoglu at the same university.
Sorry, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear all.
Professor Birgül.
Yes.
So, when we're talking about rule-based design tools, there's always criticism. That's why I'm in favor of you saying that you're updating the method, because when we're talking about rule-based tools, there's always criticism for lacking innovation and creativity for the rule-based. Programmers' way of handling the matter of creativity is kind of different. It's like what you've done, but sometimes only one rule can, like folding or subdivision, can create vast varieties and complexity of design. So.
Yes, you are right. My internet connection is.
Zainab?
Do I have a problem, or I didn't understand? Yes, you are right, but it is not that easy when you are handling not only 2-dimensional shapes. When there is a and they try to also handle the relation between 2-dimensional and 3-dimensional.
Yeah, and this way it's kind of 2.5 dimension, not a 2-dimensional.
Yeah, 2.5. Yes, that's right.
Why it's good as introduction, and I think lots of work can be done, and actually to be seen more than just the 3 examples later on when you're updating the work with other students, but it's kind of interesting. And it was, so thank you so much, Zainab.
You're welcome.
Aya.
Yes, certainly.
Thank you for the presentation. It was interesting, actually.
Thank you so much.
I have some questions, a couple of questions. Have you any plans for changing the type of experience, the virtual experience, the type of virtual experience? Can you describe what it is? Is it just like feeling the presence of the building, of the ASCAAD building or the dome? Three-dimensional exploration, immersive, just with the feeling of the dome itself. Is it like that, or there's something more that we know?
Okay, so virtual reality, it is a combination. So virtual reality is the feeling of that allows people to feel as though they are in this environment or this given environment, as well as there is supposed to be certain hotspots, so people can actually navigate from not only from exterior but also from interior, from the interior of the building as it was once before. Yeah, it is kind of a feeling, so it allows us to feel something, not only, and it allows us even to tangible objects, so we can actually hold some things and move them. So it allows us to feel not only mentally, but also physically as well. So it kind of plays on all the senses, but mainly on the visual senses and audible senses. It focuses on that, but it can be through other senses as well. So
when you finish the work, I see that you have further plans for the same project, but for the building, it's not just the building, it's the heritage, and it's not the physical appearance of the building that was important itself, but sometimes it was the event that was that came through it. So have you considered planning the type of interaction in the immersive experience to explore more than the physical model? For example, in the depths of time, the events, so that you can see the change of the of events, especially that each one is a keystone in the history of Lebanon. Even at the revolution, it was kind of placed the thoughts and so on. So, have any plan for that?
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting topic you just said, Doctor, because it's important for people, especially future generations, maybe not us in our time, since we've been to the revolution and the Beirut port explosion, but I think for future generations to acknowledge what happened throughout that decade, it's like creating a virtual timeline, not only like a static timeline. So I think, yeah, it's very considerable, and I think it can be achieved. Yes, of course, we can create milestones of what the buildings have went through to be what it is right now, the deterioration of it through time. So I think, yes, of course.
Thank you. And what parameter exactly did you use for the feedback, the user's feedback? You have a rubric or something that you've measured the satisfaction at least, or some according to?
Yeah, there was a certain satisfaction level, and the problems resided more in the feeling of realism. So they wanted to explore the building not only from the outside, as you said, of course, from the interior as well. So it is a project to be still updated, of course, to work on from these evaluations. But they did enjoy that they were able to move from one place and another and see it, see the structure, how it was being held on pilates, which was very important at that time. So yeah.
Thank you, Aya. Thank you so much. Does anyone from the presenters have questions for each other?
I wanted to ask Aya on the Metaverse side. Have you thought of any major platforms you would like to place the heritage building in? And have you looked into whether you could engage the users also in decision making on what to preserve and what not to preserve?
Yeah, this is very important. That is why I try to communicate with students, especially in the university, so I can see their input on what they would like to see in the building. So they were interested in the structure, most certainly in the architecture faculty. They were interested in the structure as well as they wanted to see the grandeur of the interior, as I've said. So yeah, it is important to get the feedback, especially from the educational sides from students, not only in the university as well, as in schools. I think it's very important as well. So yeah.
Great, thank you.
You're most welcome. Thank you.
So any questions? Anyone want to discuss anything from the three wonderful presentations? If no, allow me, Theodore, for the digital twin concept is kind of familiar for me, but let me say if I understood it. So the digital twin concept may be about the type of virtual presence of the project, not just physically, but with all the data that could imply within it, right?
Yes.
Okay, so combining the blockchain with the digital twin is putting the digital twin on a platform and managing the security of the data. Is it right, or?
Part of it is this, right? So by using blockchain and a decentralized system, you have a better security and better safety essentially of the provenance of the data, right? So if I can use Aya's presentation, for example, as an example, right? We can take we have data that might be lost because of war or other disasters, for example. So you can, by placing it on IPFS and and blocking it with blockchain, it makes it much more difficult for these to get lost. But also, in the same example, if you want to govern essentially who will have access to that data and what kind of decisions they will make, it's much more easy to do that through a blockchain rather than through a web server essentially and putting a model on a server. But at the same time, what we find much more interesting is that you can also start placing, for example, incentives to the users that will interact with the model. So if you have a Metaverse model, for example, you can assign tokens on behaviors that are called, for example, play to earn, if you want the users to play with the model or you want them to make certain decisions. Now, where it gets interesting is if you use the digital model to make decisions, on a blockchain-enabled model to make decisions about what happens with the physical reality. So far, we have been just developing the tools essentially to kind of be able to build those up. But once you reach the level where you have many buildings or a whole city is where it starts to get interesting, because you might have, for example, users deciding collectively to say fund one project but not fund the other, if that makes sense.
So you're opening new potentials with using the blockchain. Yeah.
Exactly. So you might have, for example, we have modeled participatory design ideas where you could have experts and users at the same time, kind of co-designing together. But then the concept of the crypto thing is that they can govern, they can make decisions about what happens to the physical aspect as well.
And you have that you made that experiment, and others tried the same to experience the model that you've designed in doing so.
Yeah. So we will we are still developing. So the validation is still early stages. We have managed to do so. We wanted to make it work. Within the month of November, we will be able to also publish the experience. But if you go to Decentraland, you can actually visit the I just need to remember the coordinates because it's a little bit complicated. I think it's -146 and -129, if I'm not mistaken, in Decentraland. So you can, go and visit the digital twin, and if you're connected to it, you can also choose what kind of artwork will appear in on the No One physical prototype, which is located in Zurich. And
Okay,
you don't have to, yeah.
Yeah, that's changing a lot actually, and is more significant than what was expected by combining the two terms. But this is something new, and this is a beginning of something that I think would be updated for long, and that's great actually. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Everyone, if there's no questions, we can all join for the rest of the
Mr. Teo, sorry, I have a question. Can I ask?
You can be at the session 5 then.
Sorry, Dr. Muhammad.
Yes.
We have a question from Nima Sharafi. Yes.
Yeah. Mr. Teo, thank you for your information. I have a question. You said that because I joined here to this room lately, I have a question that who is designing the metaverses which you're working on? The people, the designers, or AI? You're just making a platform for the designers to design the metaverses and collab together, or what?
So this is more from our perspective. There is no, well, not our perspective, but from the perspective of the blockchain, there is no difference between a human designer or a machine learning algorithm kind of producing design. So from that point of view, you could have the blockchain could organize a collaboration between design agents. We don't know whether it's me, you, or a machine learning algorithm doing that. And from that point of view, that is, I think, a kind of refreshing aspect on how you could set up design collaboration. Now, in terms of the metaverse, again, I will agree with Dr. Ibrahim in the sense that we are still early on, right? These technologies are still early on, and we're still experimenting in terms of how we can combine them and where it is meaningful to combine them, right? So some of the things in terms of governance, for example, on digital twin, maybe you don't want to have that publicly, right? So if we were designing, for example, a factory building product, you might not want the governance to be completely public. You might only want that only on the people that have a stake on the supply chain. But essentially, blockchain allows a much more transparent and trustworthy processes to be developed, whether this is to kind of record what a machine learning tool might have made as a decision, or also incentivize human and machine learning designers.
Yeah, thank you. I agree with you. It's really a trustable system, but we should consider a machine can design there, or a person or a human, and can they collaborate, or I'm just there as a visitor, as a citizen, or anything, as a player. Okay.
Yeah.
And what's the role of human and what's the role of machine here? How we can define and how we can separate them together. I think it's important to think about it.
Absolutely. So I would say, the question of whether a machine can design is since computers got invented, it's very close to what Alan Turing was asking, in terms of, could machines think? Essentially, it's the same question. I would say, in terms of whether you can, humans can collaborate with machines, most definitely. I think it's more about how do you build that interface, and it also goes back to maybe a similar kind of thinking in terms of where do you build the weight of decision making between experts and stakeholders, right? So if you invite citizens to design with you, obviously they're important because they're going to be part of the users of a monument or a city, but they have no expertise, right? And these are things that participatory design has faced in the 70s as a question, right? Where is it's a kind of discussion between technocracy and democracy in that kind of aspect. I'm not saying that blockchain has all of the solutions, but is maybe one of the ways we can build a little bit more trustworthy institutions between designers, government, and the public from that point of view. I think we need more experiments to kind of try to see what is the best solution. It also is, I think, cultural, right? So we present blockchain as a kind of trustworthy medium, but my guess is it would work differently, for example, in Greece or the Middle East compared to the UK, compared to Japan, right? So it also has to do with what is the culture of the users that we are discussing about, which on the blockchain level is not easily captured, yes, and same thing with the metaverse as well.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for your information.
Thank you for the question.